Cheers everyone, welcome back. Grandma's Handbag, thank you so much for joining us. Bit of a thread response tonight. Nice good chance to go off script a little bit because I've been scripting things a bit much lately with that top 100 coming soon. But yeah, thread response of some 10 acts I've seen live. I've kind of been itching to show you this, so we're going to jump into that in just a second. Tonight's helper is the Schlenkerla Rauchbier, which Marzen. So it's a smoked beer. It's got the malt smoked over beechwood, and it's just lovely, rich. I don't know, there's almost a sweetness in the smoke. Beautiful stuff. Probably in my top 10 beers, I would say. Really getting a nice taste for this one over the years. 5.1%, lovely stuff. Cheers. Alright, thanks for joining me in Link here tonight. 10 acts I've seen live. So, Brian over at Black Beans and Rice, fantastic channel. If you guys haven't checked him out already, please do so. Doing great stuff there. And a few other people have jumped on this as well. Names escaping me right now. But, yeah, look, we're all fans of music. We're all live music fans too, I hope. I don't get to see as many concerts as I want to, but I thought it'd be a good time to delve into the old book of tickets and the likes of concerts I've been to. Alright, they're falling out. It's time for me to stop talking and, well, stop faffing about and get into it. So, 16th of March 1993. There's a very sorry looking ticket there. I'll throw up a picture so you can see it. First ever show, my first ever rock concert. Paul McCartney, the New World Tour. Mum and Dad took us along to that. Thank you very much. Back in those days, you know, you just picked up a tour program, didn't you? So it had a whole lot of stuff in here. There's a band there. Yeah. So Paul McCartney, someone I grew up with. Dad, always a huge fan, Beatles fan, and then definitely down the McCartney Avenue of things. So through osmosis, that was all into my my blood, my ears, and that as a kid. And yeah, 1993 New World Tour. Probably the, don't know if it was Flowers in the Dirt or Off the Ground. He would have been touring at the time. Anyway, great concert. One thing I remember there was he had a piano that sort of rose up at the front of the stage, you know, somewhere near the beginning of the encore, and it rose up out of the stage, and it almost had a forward tilt to it. So you could see Macca sitting there hammering away, and I think he did, well, Magical Mystery Tour and at least Lady Madonna, I'm sure. And my dad and I just sort of looked at each other and lost it. Wow, we couldn't believe this piano. It's sort of, you'll see that picture there. It's all decked out like John Lennon's psychedelic Bentley. It was just fantastic stuff. Alright, another one. Bert Jansch. I got to see him, I can't even remember the year exactly now. I'm going to say 99 or 2000. He played in Sydney, a venue called The Basement, a very famous sort of... for Sydney anyway, jazz club, had all the greats and things play there. I was 20 or 21, probably the youngest person in the audience at the time. Didn't own any Bert Jansch before that, but just had an inkling that he was someone that needed to be checked out. And yeah, a real magical evening, you know. Played at least 2 Jackson C. Frank covers in there. I mean, there were other ones I would have had no idea about at the time, but very, very lucky, I guess, to have seen Bert at that time. Alright, the next one was kind of almost a gig-going extravaganza. Through about, I think, nearly 3 months or so, I was in the UK and Europe in 2001. I've got a whole load of things I could show, but I was a huge Belle and Sebastian fan at the time. and they'd never toured Australia and didn't for a few more years until after this. So naturally, first band I had to see was these guys there. They were touring this album, and so I actually chased them after a couple of different gigs. The first one was the 14th of June in Aberdeen, and what I remember doing was getting a train up from London that morning, and I ended up being on the train with the actual band, or parts of the band themselves, from well, I don't know if they joined, I don't know if they were the string section or the a brass section that joined them, but anyway, they had all their instruments from Edinburgh onto Aberdeen. They jumped off, and all I remember from that gig there was a Scottish, like almost a hometown crowd, just sort of mad for it. You know, these guys were on the ascendant, and it was almost like a religious gathering in a way, because I remember there's this guy sort of hobbling in on crutches, you know, early on, and I noticed he was going downstairs in the general seating area. By the end of the night, you see this crutch being thrust up into the air, like he'd been cured of all his ills. You know, and it was just a real kind of festival party atmosphere. So I stayed there and overnight and got the train back to London the next day. But the next one I got to see was, I think, a week later. You'll see the pictures there, and that was John Cale. Again, a hometown gig in St David's Hall in Cardiff. And I might have told a story of this one before, but I'll have to do it again. Look, it was very special, very much fragments of the Rainy Season set list. You know, just the greatest hits, all solo stuff. Kept the audience entranced. The sad thing was, I think the venue held about 16 to 1800 people, and I honestly think there would have been about 300 in the audience. And I had these tickets for upstairs, and when I got there, they told me, can't go upstairs, everyone's down in the general area, because they hadn't sold that much. So in the end, I took my place there, and before the show, this guy sort of walked up to me. I think I might have been out just stretching in the aisleway or going to the toilet, and he says, look, he goes, do you want to swap seats? And I said, yeah, okay, why, what's happening? He goes, well, I'm sitting right in front of John Cale, and he's going to be looking at me. I can't deal with it. And I said, yeah, sure, yeah, have my seat, there it is. So we swapped, and I got bloody front row seats, you know, 6 or 7 meters away from John Cale at the piano on his guitar, and doing a you know, brilliant set list of all his greatest hits. All right, these are sort of roughly in chronological order too, by the way. So skip a few years, 2007, I'm pretty sure it was. And I'll show this band, but it wasn't exactly the one I was meaning to show. Yo La Tengo played Meredith Music Festival, very famous single stage festival in Australia. 3 days, 2 nights, wonderful stuff. Just real get yourself together in the country stuff. And yeah, Yo La Tengo are there. They're a very interesting live proposition, I have to say, to be honest. But the band I actually want to talk about were Comets on Fire. Now, I don't know if I can get the footage here, so I really do recommend clicking a link down below to check it out. But I was basically in the front of the stage there, and the band were going into a fucking psychedelic meltdown. I couldn't believe it. As they're wont to do, you know, just almost free-form rock, jazz, psych monstrosity melting down in front of us. And if you were locked into it, which I was at the time, it's just the most mind-melting. You're on a journey to space, even though you're in the middle of this paddock with a couple of thousand other people. But out of nowhere, I just sort of noticed suddenly there was this shoe getting like waved and, you know, just hammered about above at the band, at the audience, at the band playing. And then slowly, like, another shoe goes up, you know, and there are 2 shoes, and 4, 5. Like, the band are just playing on regardless at this point. And by that sort of time, I realized, holy shit, everyone's trying to vote, like, give their nod of appreciation for this. So I was wearing a thong. I'll just show you. Just had one of these old guys in there, and next thing you know, smashing at the band like that. And that was the birth of an institution for that festival. Every year now, if a band is really rocking it on stage, out comes the boot. That's what it's called. If you're good, you get the boot. So yeah, to be at the start of that, fantastic stuff. Really recommend a quick look at that link if you get a chance. All right, 2008, Sonic Boom, or Spectrum. It was basically Sonic Boom solo, and very, very weird, spacey gig. Wonderful stuff. Supported by Shane Carter, Dimmer, Straight Jacket Fits, a New Zealand flying nun band. But anyway, solo Pete Kember there, and really, really good stuff. All very heavy synth drone stuff, and I remember one person might have taken their stash pretty early on. You just sort of heard this guy weaving throughout the sparse crowd in anticipation of one of his songs here, and just going ba 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 ba, in tune with the vibrations of the universe, no doubt. But anyway, ably assisted by potentially a chemical or two. Amazing gig. Copy of, or cover of Kraftwerk's Neon Lights melted me away. And I always remember that day. It was, I think, about the 11th or 12th of April in 2008. 1 week later, I met my wife. Or wife-to-be. So yeah, this next one, I still kind of have to pinch myself that I actually got to see them again. This was a festival, 2009. It was called All Tomorrow's Parties. An Australian guy started it, but it very much had its roots in the UK. Anyway, he had Nick Cave curate one of these, and they brought out Harmonia, which just still today, like I said, blows my mind. To have all three members there playing, and then to hear songs like Ser Kosmisch floating over a field. It was actually held on an island in the middle of Sydney Harbour, and to hear these sounds just sort of disembodied and so cavernous and cosmic floating around, absolutely thrilling stuff, you know. Yeah, just amazing. Still to this day that I got to catch them live. Alright, a couple more here. Primavera Music Festival in Spain. I actually had a kind of a lifelong, or not a lifelong, a real dream to get back over to Europe, catch a live music festival. Primavera is always one for the indie music fans and that. So grabbed a ticket there. And interestingly, these guys were not on the bill. Had no idea. Saw a hell of a lot of good bands, but I'm picking Saint Etienne out because they're known for not travelling very far and generally not very often on planes. So for a kid from Australia to find out they were a last minute addition to a bill, I forget who even dropped out now. Clearly not important, because these guys patched it up. And you know, while I was there with a few with a friend or two and other people I bumped into, made my excuses and ran over to this stage and had my little moment. I remember just shuffling around by myself in a little bubble and loving every moment of Saint Etienne. A dream realised that I never knew I had. Alright, another one, festival, again the same, All Tomorrow's Parties Festival, 2013, and it was headlined by the unbelievable My Bloody Valentine. So I could show you those, but I'm not actually going to show you, although you can see the footage and that there of the tickets. Got to see this band, Swans, playing live, and that was a real mind melter. I was actually quite sick going into this concert. Flew down to Melbourne where they were holding it. And yeah, just in the middle of summer in February, just baking heat, and I had a cold. You know, hot and cold, things were shivering and whatever. So basically turned up there, and it was over 40 degrees Celsius, and it was being held in effectively a factory tin shed where they played sports. There was only one area where there was a little bit of aircon. The rest of it, no luck. They nearly called the festival off. But anyway, Swans played here. Pretty much half of this To Be Kind album. 2 hours set, and they still only would have played maybe 6 songs. And just the sonic intensity of that absolutely, again, blew me away. Coupled with that sickness and the heat, it was just utterly oppressive kind of music. Absolutely thrilling for all of that, but it was a complete test of endurance, you know, and yeah, I made it through that. Heard My Bloody Valentine, who were incredible, even though I didn't know whether I used those earplugs the whole gig. It didn't seem loud enough at some points, but that's probably my hearing. But the whole second day, which was supposed to be mainly Australian bands, I was just too sick to attend, so I didn't even. I wrote off My Bloody Valentine, Swans, Godspeed You Black Emperor as a win in my book, so off I went. Alright, the last one was just a little local gig, and it was, I'll see if you can see this, Dean Wareham plays Galaxy 500. So as a big Galaxy 500 fan, to see Dean Wareham taking off and doing his own interpretations there, just wonderful stuff to see. He had a band with him. Obviously, Dean and Britta there. He might have used part of the Sand Pebbles, which are a pretty good Australian psych rock ensemble sort of thing. Anywhere between 7 to 10 people. So you got a B-side, white label. Anyway, I think they're all that way. Split 7-inch to a 7-inch. It does say limited to 300, but they never ever numbered it. So anyway, but yeah, had to grab that. And Dean Wareham was just to hear those Galaxy 500 songs was a complete thrill. But what I really loved when he was playing it was this kind of odd engagement, or almost detachment from playing these songs of his youth. Some of the lyrics and things, I suppose he didn't resonate with anymore from Galaxy 500. So what he would sort of do was sing them with this rather puzzled look on his face. And obviously do it completely respectfully for everyone listening, because they'd invested so much in these. But his own sort of face almost betrayed as in, what was I thinking when I wrote these songs? So that was an extra layer of entertainment, I suppose you could see, this bemused, detached, puzzled face of Dean Wareham. But anyway, look, yeah, cherished gig. Love to catch him again, or if ever there was a Galaxy 500 reunion. But Dean and Britta. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much if you've stuck it through to the end here. I know I have a tendency to waffle, but I hope that hasn't been too long. Link's still playing, so unless it's a long album, maybe hopefully I haven't outstayed my welcome. I'll be back very soon with our next installment of the Top 100. Sorry that's been so long. Just got to get a kick up the ring and do it. But in the meantime, thank you all. Thank you, new subscribers. And as always, yeah, really enjoyed talking to you. If you've seen any of these bands, let me know. Any more questions or that, always happy to chat music with you good folks. So cheers to you all. Take care, and I'll talk to you all soon.